Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a really fascinating and honestly a pretty intense case study from Northbridge Strategy. We're going to explore a scenario that plays out in corporate environments way more often than any of us would probably like to admit. We are talking about the silent betrayal of stolen work. You know, when we think of workplace drama, we usually picture these loud, explosive, screaming matches in the hallway or the break room. But the reality, the loudest betrayals are usually dead silent. It's a hidden tab. It's a quietly changed file name. It's a carefully managed, totally sanitized meeting deck. This explainer is all about what happens when a toxic office tries to forcefully control a narrative and how the absolute smallest digital record can suddenly become the loudest, most undeniable witness in the room. I really want to start right here with this incredibly powerful question from our main subject, Maya Chen. Maya is a brilliant strategist who had to learn the hard way that you simply cannot always trust a clean, perfectly formatted document. When the realization hits her that her own hard work has been tampered with and stolen, she doesn't panic. She methodically opens her notebook and writes down this exact sentence at the top of the page. What changed, who changed it, and who benefits? I just love that. It's like a detective's mantra. When toxic people are desperate to rewrite the truth and spin a web of confusion, asking these three simple pointed questions cuts right through all that corporate noise. It grounds you in reality. All right, let's jump into Section 1, the quiet betrayal, the anatomy of stolen credit. So picture the setup here. We are in a crucial, high-stakes leadership review meeting. Maya walks in, totally prepared, expecting to discuss the strategy framework that she literally built from the ground up. But she looks at the screen, and her name has been quietly, cleanly erased. Poof, gone. Now, I want you to notice the stark contrast in how our two central figures navigate this massive conflict. Maya relies strictly on hard facts. She absolutely refuses to give some incomplete, watered-down summary before the actual evidence is opened up. On the flip side, you have her colleague, Claire, the one who just blatantly claimed Maya's work as her own. Claire uses this polished, incredibly professional calm to project total authority. She doesn't scream. She doesn't accuse directly. Instead, she masterfully frames her manipulation as concern for the team. She lets her smooth presentation style manipulate everyone in that room. It's chilling how effective that can be, right? During that tense meeting, another manager, Daniel, actually tries to run cover for Claire's fabricated story by vaguely referencing patterns of collaboration, just throwing out buzzwords. Maya's response? Absolutely uncompromising. She looks right at him and says, "Patterns are useful when they are based on facts. Otherwise, they are just rumors wearing a tie." Man, what a line. It highlights something crucial. In a toxic office, blame moves incredibly fast. Why? Because speed protects power. If you move fast enough, no one asks questions. But evidence moves slower because it actually has to survive being questioned. By demanding facts, Maya is literally forcing the whole room to slow down and look at the reality. Let's look at Section 2, Tactics of Toxic Leadership, How the Crime Happened. Okay, so how do you actually pull off a heist like this? How do you steal a breakthrough idea in plain sight? Well, it requires cold execution. And usually, it requires a complicit manager, like Daniel, to support the lie. Let's break it down step by step. First, Maya is grinding away late at night and creates the original file, a true solo effort. Step 2, just minutes later, Claire swoops in and duplicates that file. Step 3, Claire goes in and quietly scrubs Maya's name and any visible attribution right off the new deck. Boom. They took a brilliant solo breakthrough and engineered it into a heavily managed authorless document, completely serving their own advancement. And Daniel is right there ready to cover for them by smoothing it over and calling it a collaborative effort. Now, when the original author, Maya, actually pushes back and stands up for herself, toxic leadership deploys a very specific, very damaging defense mechanism: workplace gaslighting. They reframe what was a deliberate, highly calculated theft as mere process confusion or just a simple misunderstanding. Claire actually has the audacity to act deeply concerned about Maya's tone. Think about how infuriating that is. You just got robbed, and they are telling you that you're acting unreasonable in front of the executives. It's a highly calculated, manipulative move designed entirely to avoid facing a direct accusation of theft. Moving on to Section 3. The undeniable digital footprint, the smoking gun. So how do you fight back against a polished lie? Maya, teaming up with her coworker Leo and Noah from the IT department, decides to use the one single thing in any office that absolutely does not lie: metadata. This exact timeline totally unravels Claire's whole story. Look at this. At 11:58 p.m., Maya creates the original file. At 12:05 a.m., literally 7 minutes later, Claire duplicates it. But here, right here, is the fatal flaw in their perfect little heist. By 10 a.m. the next morning, when they proudly present the exported PDF to leadership, they may have successfully deleted the visible text of Maya's name, but they completely forgot about the digital DNA. The hidden author metadata was still perfectly embedded in the file's code. Noah from IT drops this absolute gem of an explanation. He says the system did not delete the original event. It only stopped showing it in the default view. You know, in an office, the unvarnished truth often looks like incredibly boring technical details. A timestamp, a field value, a hidden row on a spreadsheet. It looks totally boring, right up until the exact moment you realize what it proves. The truth wasn't gone. It hadn't vanished. It was just sitting there, waiting beneath the surface, ready to blow the whole lie wide open. Okay, section 4, shifting the blame, suppressing the truth. So the digital record is exposed. The metadata is out there, and it points firmly, undeniably, in the wrong direction for the perpetrators. Watch how fast the conversation in that room shifts. The confident facade instantly cracks. Suddenly, you have these managers panicking and throwing out classic corporate buzzwords to suppress the truth. Daniel nervously calls it a misunderstanding. Claire desperately clings to process confusion, and of course attacks Maya's tone again. And Ethan, the boss, he jumps in and asks if they can solve this offline. Now, let's be real for a second. Whenever a manager says, let's take this offline during a conflict like this, what they really mean is, I want the truth to stop having an audience. They want to hustle you behind a closed door and make the investigation quietly disappear. But Maya refuses to play that game. Her response is just devastating. She looks right back and says, offline is where this problem was created. We are staying online. Wow. That is a total, uncompromising refusal to let toxic leaders use closed doors to hide their tracks. She recognizes immediately that the offline space, those hidden little side conversations, is exactly where her name was erased in the first place. She's forcing the accountability to happen right there, in the light. Finally, let's look at section 5, when truth wins, the external catalyst. So Maya has the undeniable evidence, but internal company politics are still desperately trying to bury it. What finally shatters this deadlock? It's when the internal cover-up collides head-on with a massive external demand. Enter the client, Mr. Bennett. Right in the middle of all this spin, he drops a bombshell. He says, for clarity, I would like Maya's version included in the official record. That's it. That one single demand from a vital external client instantly does what a dozen internal HR complaints probably never could have achieved. It makes the truth operationally necessary. The company suddenly can't hide behind excuses like process confusion when the very person paying their bills is explicitly demanding the factual record. In the immediate aftermath of that meeting, we actually get to see how office culture begins to turn. And it's not pretty, but it's effective. Ethan, forced into a corner, mandates the preservation of all source files and strictly bans those shady, informal edits. Olivia, from HR, who had just been sitting there taking passive notes, finally steps up and officially escalates the matter. And most importantly, Maya is formally asked to present her own strategy, her original work, directly to the leadership room. Real change didn't happen because someone gave a grand, inspirational speech. It happened because one person relentlessly refused to protect the old, toxic shortcuts. So what's the overarching takeaway from this explainer? I think it boils down to this. When someone edits your name out of the story, the timestamp can still tell the truth. Listen, a workplace does not become safe just because HR slaps some nice motivational posters on the break room wall. It becomes safer when records cannot be quietly rewritten to serve the powerful. It becomes safer when your silence is no longer confused with your professionalism. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought, maybe something to reflect on regarding your own office dynamics. In a workplace built on fear, are you protecting the old shortcuts, or are you protecting the truth? Maya made the incredibly difficult choice to protect the truth, and it ended up changing her entire company's culture. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it gave you some powerful tools and a new perspective to think about your own professional boundaries. Catch you next time.